British Columbia in about 5 to 7 minutes on your right-hand side. Thank you very much and enjoy your evening.